Oh, hey, what's up, guys? Hopefully, you guys can hear me. Bear with me. I had a video set up. I was actually going live about 5, 10 minutes ago, but the stream automatically shut down. I'm not saying it was the deep state, but probably what it was is that we had really bad weather the last 2 days, and yesterday was really bad, man. It felt like it was almost tsunami weather. It actually woke me up early in the morning, and I had plans, dude. I just had to stay home because it was raining so hard, and there's a lot of flooding. You guys don't know, man. I live in the islands, man. The 50th state. Hold on, let me check this. Testing, testing. Dude, I don't even know if this thing is. Because I can't even get my avatar up. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. Hold on. Yeah, so there's a lot of places. It stopped raining, which was good. You know what it is, man? Where I live, there was a time where you could have torrential rain and it'll be okay. You won't have a lot of flooding. But what ends up happening is that a lot of places now on the island I live on is really. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's playing. Sorry about that feedback, but I had to make sure this thing was working. And then hopefully, we won't have any problems, man, because I got a really long video I wanted to do today. Not really long, but we're gonna watch a video and then do commentary on it. So at least minimum half an hour. Hate to start the stream like this and then it just dies on me. But where I live, man, you'd have torrential rains when I was younger, and it would be bad, but it wouldn't be this as bad as it is now. And it's just because you just have so many more people living on the island, and the island's been overdeveloped to a sense, to an extent. Like for me personally, I think they could develop more. They're just not smart about it. And a lot of it has to do with the infrastructure. A lot of it has to do with money. Definitely, a lot of it has to do with politics. That's why I started doing politics. I don't really do it locally, man, because it's such a small bump. I live in the 50th state, and our impact on a political scale, um, in the general election or just nationally, is really small. There was that one year when everybody predicted that the Bush election was going to be close to Hawaii to play a part. They even said Dick Cheney out here. I remember that. Kind of at the last minute to kind of talk to the Republican support, which is non-existent here in Hawaii. So I get to bear the brunt of a lot of this decisions that they make, and it's just the way it is, man. That's why another thing politically that I don't talk to people about is people that are sitting there saying they're not feeling the effects of the economy, or at least the rebound. It's for various reasons, some of which are personal, right? But it's also where you live, man. I've said this on other videos, and I think I reiterate that with what's going on currently. Like where I live, man, everything's impacted by local politics, right? So things could be dropping, prices could be doing better in other places, predominantly red states, but in blue states like mine, it's bad and it's getting worse because the government here don't know how to do anything except spend money. That's their answer for everything. It's just to throw money at it, and it's not smart. You guys see what's going on in New York, right? Hold on, guys. Let me bring this up. Sorry about that. You might hear some feedback. Sorry, I'm gonna have to do this way. I'm wondering if I can even do the feed. Let's see if we can do the feed. If not, dude, we'll just talk about it and it'll be a short video. But I really want to go over this because this is the president's press conference. Okay, after the Supreme Court ruled that he cannot use IEPA tariffs, that's what he's been using, right? If you guys know what that means, right? That's how he's been able to do tariffs um, unabridgedly on countries across the board. And those other countries that bear the burden and the brunt, of which I don't have a problem with, guys. That's me personally, just for the simple fact that with tariffs, like I said on a previous video, I don't have to pay the tariff, right? Because I don't have to buy the product. With taxes, you don't have the choices, right? And if you guys don't believe me, if you guys own a house, there's property taxes, right, that they charge you. Right? If you live on a state like I live, and they charge you registration tax for your car, which is every year, which keeps on going up, right? I used to have a bigger SUV. I downsized, right? And the first year I paid, it was a big difference because I only paid like 200 something dollars for my registration fee. And then the next year it went up, and then currently the cost of the car that I drive now is the same equivalency as the bigger SUV I drove back a couple years ago, right? And that's the dirty little thing that nobody wants to talk about when it comes to politics, local politics, and budgeting, right? It is not a tax problem; it is a spending problem for a lot of people, right? And it's unfortunate that we raise a generation of people that think they can spend their way out of stuff. And this is why, like I said earlier, a lot of people find themselves in the situation that there is. And I'm the same way, dude. Sometimes you gotta learn the hard way. I'm not putting myself up there that I did everything correctly. Most people don't, right? But what you don't want to do is double, triple, or quadruple down, right? That makes the problem even worse, and that's what you see happening. That's why President Trump has used the tariffs to the extent that he's used it, and to great effect, right? Because at the end of the day, dudes, if you guys think about it, we would be hurting either way. At least this way, it's hopefully for a better, broader, brand new day. That's why I look at. That's the way I look at it, right? And I've been course correcting for the last 6 years, ever since COVID, right? Because even back then, prices started to creep up, and for most people who live paycheck to paycheck, that's a real problem, right? So we've been in this quagmire for a long time. The only reason why it matters now is because the media is focusing on it, which they never did before. When you have the other administration in office, right, and the other political parties in power, the news tends to, turn into three blind mice: hear nothing, see nothing, say nothing, right? As soon as the president, if and you guys don't believe me, just look. As soon as he took office, even before he took office, the build up to his inauguration day, the news just automatically flipped and started looking at stuff like economy and stuff like that. They couldn't do it when Biden was in office because that would make them look bad, the party that they support. The media is really bad. I do videos on the gaming media. The mainstream media is just as worse. And the reason why other media, whether it's pop culture to include gaming, movies, and stuff like that, is because the media in and of itself is this big bubble, right? That's liberal leaning because they all go to the universities, they got the credentials, they do all of that. They breed this type of mentality, this type of reporting, right? This is why when the president does certain things to people, he's talking, but you can tell they're not listening. They just want to attack him. Some of them come up with legit questions. That's why he changed the press corps. I don't blame him. I don't blame anything that he does, man. These people do not like him, right? And for me, if you don't like me, then fine. If you like me, then hate me, right? But you will respect me. All right, let's see if we can get this going, guys, and we can jump into it. So anyway, this is the Supreme Court came back with a really bad decision, right, to go against the president, which means nothing, right? I mean, if you guys understand how the branches of government works, they're supposed to stay in their own lane, right? And the way that the judiciary has been over the last 20, 25 years, dude, they've been getting more involved. They're just supposed to interpret the law and use precedents on the law. It's always been that way, right? But what ends up happening is politics isn't everything. I know you guys don't like me talking about this on my channel. A lot of people just tune out. That's fine. That's your choice. But I want to keep on talking about it because you can't help but talk about it because that's what everybody does. It affects everything, right? All the issues we went through with gaming, things that happened with Disney, Marvel, all that stuff, dude. It's all one big political crap pie, and that's the way it is, right? And that's why we're going to address it on this channel. Plus, I always like politics. I kind of used to keep it separate, but I need something to talk about on this channel. And I absolutely love this press conference, right? I thought it was awesome. I was enjoying every single minute of it. And like I said, we'll watch the videos. I'll stop from time to time, get my commentary, and we'll try and get this. Now I'm in 10 minutes in. Looks like everything's running, so we'll get into it. All right.
Wow, got a lot of people. That's a new record. We set a record every time. Well, thank you very much for being here. The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed.
Okay, sorry, I'm going to stop so early, but absolutely love this. I've seen people on commentary saying this is reprehensible. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be calling about me. Dude, all those days are gone. Those days are over. If you don't know one thing about this president, he has to fight tooth and nail for every single thing that he gets, right? This is why he is the way he is. He is basically created to be this way by an inept media, by a dirty political system, right? And now a judicial system that's crooked. I love that he did this. I wasn't even expecting him to go there, but I'm glad that he is. And that's why I can't wait for the State of the Union, dude. I'm going to have a front row seat, got my popcorn ready. Dude, I hope he blasts them. Because with the State of the Union, if you guys don't know, right, you usually have the both branches of Congress come in, right? You get the Senate and you get the House. They'll be there. And then you usually get the Supreme Court that is there. And then they have special guests and stuff like that, and the staff and all that stuff. But I mean, I think it's like this week, this Tuesday, and I think it's apropos to why the Supreme Court did what they did. Dude, this is a totally personal thing. There's justices on the Supreme Court. You get the three, right? Those are liberal, socialist, left leaning dirtbags. We know who they are, right? And then you got the other two wishy washy conservative types, right? And they just don't like it. At the end of the day, they just don't like it, right? Gorsuch was kind of a was it Gorsuch? There's one person I was kind of thought he was a little bit more solid, but Amy Barrett, Coney Barrett, whatever, she doesn't like him, right? And I think it's just a female thing. And then you got Chief Justice Roberts, dude. He's always been weak, right? So I'm glad that he does what he did.
For not having the courage to do what's right for our country. I'd like to thank and congratulate Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh for their strength and wisdom and love of our country.
I love that he did.
Which is right now very proud of those justices. When you read the dissenting opinions, there's no way that anyone can argue against them. There's no way. Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic.
100%.
They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long. That I can assure you. The Democrats on the court are thrilled, but they will automatically vote no. They're an automatic no, just like in Congress. They're an automatic no.
100%.
They're
Democrats just exist now to just go against everything he says and does. If you haven't picked up on the fact that party, dude, has just a lot of people that I talk to, like where I live, dude, it's a Democratic, it's a blue state, right? Democrat through and through. And the sad thing about it is a lot of people are Democrats because their parents and their grandparents were Democrats. Back in the day when the Democrats actually had a platform and actually did stuff for people, right? That's not the same party, dude. Just look at what's going on in New York. Look at what's going on in other blue states. Like over here, dude, the cost of living just keeps on growing and growing. And people are scratching their heads wondering why. It's so bad that people here that vote for these guys, they actually move to other states. Hopefully they don't mess up those states, right? They probably will, right? Because they're not learning. What I wish people would do is just stay here. Like you created the system, you should stay here and live with it. That's how I feel, right? Because that's the only way they're going to learn. Right. This is why when I do this kind of stuff, I'm more flippant. I used to be a lot more serious about politics, but I realized a long time ago, especially during the Bush years and then going into the Trump's first. It was actually when President Trump ran the first time and won that I became this way, right? Because it made me realize that you can't, no matter what you say, even if it's obvious, even if it's the truth, even if you have facts, man, people don't care. It's all feeling based. Right? And the only way that you can stop this type of thing is people to learn the hard way. But unfortunately, I don't want to do that either because the rest of us have to suffer. Right? But that's what it's going to boil down to the end of the day. That's why I don't really care about all this kind of stuff, right? Because the stuff that you need to do and the stuff that needs to be done is going to be hard. And the generation of people now just can't do it. Right? This is medicine that's needed, right? This is the conversation that we should be having. Because the Democratic Party is not the Democratic Party anymore. And people need to wake up to that. We support them.
Against anything that makes America strong, healthy, and great again.
Yep.
They also are a, frankly, disgrace to our nation, those justices. They're an automatic no, no matter how good a case you have. It's a no.
Sorry, this is the second time I'm watching this. The first time I was beside myself. I was cracking up laughing watching this, dude. Like he's not pulling any punches, man, and he's right. At the end of the day, that's right, dude. This only hurts the country.
You can't knock their loyalty.
Yeah.
It's one thing.
Yep, 100%.
You can do with some of our people.
Yeah, that's.
Others think that
you guys know I'm a video game channel. That's the difference between Xbox and PlayStation guys. PlayStation guys are loyal.
They're being politically correct, which has happened before far too often with certain members of this court, and it's happened so often with this court. What a shame.
Yeah.
Having to do with voting in particular. When in fact they're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats, and
100%.
Not that this should have anything at all to do with it. They're very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution.
He's pissed. If you guys haven't picked up on it, he's really pissed. He's not happy. Right?
It's my opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interests and a political
100%.
movement that is far smaller than people would ever think. It's a small movement.
I
We won
hope
by
he
millions
destroys
of
them.
votes. We won in a landslide.
I hope that he destroys. I hope he calls them out by name at the address, man. That's what I'm gonna be looking for. Like what he's saying now. I want to see that at the State of the Union.
With all the cheating that went on, there was a lot of it, but we still won in a landslide. Too big to rig. But these people are obnoxious, ignorant, and loud. They're very loud. And I think certain justices are afraid of that. They don't want to do the right thing.
Yeah,
They're afraid of it.
they're afraid. Yeah.
This was an important case to me, more as a symbol of economic national security. And also, I would say, just for our country itself, so important because we're doing so well as a country. We've never done so well. The good news is that there are methods, practices, statutes, and authorities as recognized by the entire court in this terrible decision, and also as recognized by Congress, which they refer to, that are even stronger than the IEEPA tariffs available to me as President of the United States. And in actuality, I was very modest in my ask of other countries and businesses because I wanted to do, and it's very important, I wanted to be very well behaved because I.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't read his book, Art of the Deal, it explains a lot of why he does the things that he does. And that's why I think the Supreme Court did what they did, at least the ones that voted against this, because it does handicap him or it does put a stop to what he was doing. It's not going to stop him completely. That's why I titled the name of this podcast, going full Obi-Wan Kenobi. Right, and the reference is when Darth Vader strikes him down, what Obi-Wan says to him, right? And they're going to make a meaner, I don't care kind of Trump moving forward, and rightfully so, because they've been trying to block this dude for over 10 years that I've been following this stuff, right? Just because TDS, right? They just don't like him. Feelings, personality, right? Not looking at the bigger picture, because these people can't do that, and it's sad, dude. It's sad. These people sit in the halls of power, and they're like this, dude. It's just like being on a kindergarten when you watch them. If you read the dissenting argument, right? You read the main argument that the Chief Justice gave, and then you go against the dissenting argument that was provided, dude. It's very night and day. And when you look at what the Chief Justice said, dude, it's very pedantic, dude. Like it's sad. It's sad to see these people are highly educated, well respected. Their careers are littered with stuff that you can laud as incredible, life changing, earth shattering, all this stuff, dude. Even up until now, up until this, dude. But when you see a decision like this and you read what was put forth, man, a lot of it is it's scary. It's scary to me, man, because these are the people we rely on in these halls of powers to keep their not just the government's power in check, their own power, because they're part of that problem. They're a part of the bigger government, right? And to see something like this is just sad, right? That's why I love what the president's doing here, because he sees it too. It's obvious, you know. At the end of the day, dude, it's just basic, basic economics, right? And again, I've had people attack me online about this. Well, how can I speak out against Chief Judge? Look, they're lawyers at the end of the day. A lot of this stuff he's doing is just economics, which is his wheelhouse, which is why a lot of people elected him. Don't get it twisted, man. There's like the left and right thing. There's the culture war thing, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, man, people were hurting the pocketbook, and they were hoping that he can change it around. This is supposed to be the big year. We'll see what he does. But
wanted to do anything. I didn't want to do anything that would affect the decision of the court, because I understand the court. I understand how they're very easily swayed.
yeah,
I want to be a good boy. I have very effectively utilized tariffs over the past year to make America great
that'd be
again.
nice,
Our stock market has
Gloves
just
off,
recently
honey.
broken 50,000
dude.
on the Dow.
I can't wait to see what he does.
And simultaneously, and even more amazingly, broken 7,000 on the S&P, two numbers that everybody thought upon our landslide election victory could not be attained.
Yeah.
Think of that. Nobody thought it was possible to do it within 4 years, and we did it in 1 year. They said you'll never be able. You'll go back and you read the geniuses, read their statements, all of the Nobel Prize winners in economics. They said, no, you couldn't do it in 4 years. Well, we didn't do it in 4 years. We did it in 1 year. We broke every record in the book, and we're continuing to do so. Tariffs have likewise been used to end 5 of the 8 wars that I settled. I settled 8 wars, whether you like it or not, including India, Pakistan, big ones, nuclear, could have been nuclear. Prime Minister of Pakistan said yesterday at the great meeting that we had, the Peace Board, he said yesterday that President Trump could have saved 35 million lives by getting us to stop fighting. They were getting ready to do some bad things. But they've given us great national security, these tariffs have. And together with our strong borders, reduced fentanyl coming into our country by 30%. When I use them as a penalty against countries illegally sending this poison into our country, to poison our youth. All of those tariffs remain. They all remain. I don't know if you know that or not. They all remain. We're still getting them, and we will after the decision. I guess there's nobody left to appeal to. But again, those 3 people, such respect. I've had a lot of respect for them anyway, but such great respect. But other alternatives will now be used to replace the ones that the court incorrectly rejected.
Yeah, so here we go. He'll list them all. And again, regardless if he lists them all or not, dude, he was going to do this anyway. Right? That's the funny thing about that. This is like such a temper tantrum for people that just don't like it.
We have alternatives, great alternatives. Could be more money. We'll take in more money, and we'll be a lot stronger for it. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. We'll continue to do so. To show you how ridiculous the opinion is, however, the court said that I'm not allowed to charge even $1. I can't charge $1. Can't charge $1.
Okay, listen to this. All right, this is important, dude. This is the reasoning, right? And why does it make sense? I know that the way that he says it is some people don't like it, but I absolutely love it. But at the end of the day, just listen to what he says and the logic behind why this decision is so stupid.
I would have used 1 penny, but we don't make the pennies anymore. We save money. Can't charge $1 to any country under IEPA. Not $1. I assume to protect other countries. This must have been done to protect those other countries, certainly not the United States of America, which they should be interested in protecting. That's what they're supposed to be protecting. But I am allowed to cut off any and all trade or business with that same country. In other words, I can destroy the trade. I can destroy the country. I'm even allowed to impose a foreign country destroying embargo. I can embargo. I can do anything I want, but I can't charge $1. Because that's not what it says. And that's not the way it even reads. I can do anything I want to do to them, but I can't charge any money. So I'm allowed to destroy the country, but I can't charge them a little fee. I could give them a little 2-cent fee, but I cannot charge under any circumstances. I cannot charge them anything. Think of that. How ridiculous is that? I'm allowed to embargo them. I'm allowed to tell them you can't do business in the United States anymore. We want you out of here. But if I want to charge them $10, I can't do that. It's incorrect. Their decision's incorrect. But it doesn't matter because we have very powerful alternatives that have been approved by this decision. You know, they've been approved by the decision. For those who thought they had us. And they're saying that
Sorry about the noise, guys.
I have the absolute right to license, but not the right to charge a license fee. So think of that. I have the right to license, which is a very powerful word. In many ways, license is more powerful than tariffs. In fact, I was thinking about using it. But they came up with the idea that I can license, just like the people that were opposing me told them to do, but not the right to charge a license fee. Think of that. Who ever heard of such a thing? What license has ever been issued without?
Dude, and that's government in a nutshell, right? For a lot of people that sit there and wonder what they're doing. And I'm not just talking on the federal level. I'm talking. Look at your local and state. Some of the bright ideas they come up with, right? Because at the end of the day, it's by fiat, right? And it's just the overall largesse of the government, which is the problem. A big problem, actually.
The right to charge a fee. You get a license, you charge a fee. It's automatic, but not.
Just really quickly, yeah, Rachie. I did comment in the comment section. Um, 25% tariff to everyone, even those who agreed to everything he asked. I don't know if he's going to be able to. I don't know if it's a 25. I thought it was like 15. I don't know if he raised it. But basically, he's doing that just to keep the other countries in check, right? Because what happened was you saw what the media did right away. The media went and they asked these other countries, other leaders, what they think about it, what they, are you guys happy about what the Supreme Court said? At the end of the day, dude, the Supreme Court can't enforce anything. There's a famous quote from Andrew Jackson that talks about this, right? When the Supreme Court, when he was president, tried to limit them, and he goes, "Okay, I see your decision. Now enforce it." This is why keeping separation of powers is really important, right? The Supreme Court is supposed to has judicial jurisdiction over this kind of stuff. What's ended up happening though is because a lot of people don't like the way politics are, but they can't convince their fellow Americans, is they're using the system to do it, right? But they're supposed to stay separate, right? This isn't his wheelhouse to do so. And it's been working because if it wasn't working, they'd actually have a case against him to stop him, but they can't stop him because it's been successful, and that's why they do this, right? This is why you see mob mentality. This is why you see them putting pressure on the justices through other ways. If you guys keep up with the news, what's been going on, right? Because in some aspects of it, they don't want to deal with it either, right? Online, and then people going to their homes, stuff like that. But that's the reason why he did it, Richie. To answer your question, right? Whether he does the actual 25% or not, it's just to let the Supreme Court know, hey, you can do this, but I'm going to do that. And then the other people in the countries, if they get an inkling of like, oh, okay, well, let's renegotiate, then he'd be like, no. And that's why I think it was one of the people in Canada, and then I know that one of the guys out in India said that to him. It's like, oh, they didn't like the decision because if now you give him carte blanche to do whatever he wants to do, because he doesn't care, dude. This is his 4 years, right? If people just chill and let him have his 4 years after 2016, no, right? You see the overreaction, what ended up happening, right? And now he's back in office, dude. He's running the gamut because he doesn't care. And he said that months before this. He gave the Supreme Court an opportunity. He was actually magnanimous because he didn't attack the Supreme Court directly like he normally does, right? But you can tell he's not happy now. Dude, I'm telling you, man, that thing's gonna be lit, bro. I'll just watch it just for the entertainment value. People are annoyed at him because even if you comply, he will ask for more. Yeah, he has to, right? That's that's the art of the deal, dude. Go read his book, right? And to be fair, Richie, just to let you know, man, these dudes are not these other countries and stuff like that. They're not like just victimless people, right? He's trying to balance the trade deficits that we have with all these people, right? Because we've done it for so long, for various reasons, man. Some of which goes back, not just with him or President Obama or even President Biden or President Bush. I mean, it goes back decades, man. You can go back as far as Clinton, and even in some aspects Reagan. Definitely Bush Senior. Bush Senior and Clinton is when all of this stuff kicked off, right? When they brought China into the World Economic Forum. I remember that, dude. I've been following politics for a long time, dude, because it's interesting to me. Like this, all of this on the side. Like I said earlier, did a little disclaimer, right? I used to be more politically charged, like trying to help people understand stuff. I don't care anymore. This is all entertainment to me right now. Right. Like I said, I got my popcorn. I'm gonna be ready for the State of the Union, man. Hopefully, he's gonna go off on these guys. It'll be entertaining to me. Probably the only thing that can draw me away from my Xbox, uh, my K dramas and my anime is this. This blew me away that he did this. You can tell he's pissed, dude. And as the video goes on, dude, he gets even more mad. You can tell because he starts repeating himself. That's how you can tell somebody's pissed off. Like if you're in a fight, man, and somebody starts just mumbling and then they start repeating stuff over and over, look out for the Red Cross. Right. But yeah, dude, they can be annoyed with him. But there's a reason to his madness. There's a method to his madness. But thanks, dude.
with this court. But now the court has given me the unquestioned right to ban all sorts of things from coming into our country, to destroy foreign countries. But a much more powerful right than many people ever thought we even had, but not the right to charge a fee.
Because it's successful. That's why they did that. Because it's working. That's why they did that. That's really sad, dude. That's really sad that the Supreme Court, and they know this, right? This is all politics right here. This is not judicial. Dude, there's no precedent on this stuff. In fact, when you look at the precedent, it favors the president. That's why they did what they did. There's a lot of smart people in his cabinet, dude. Don't get it twisted, dude. The president only knows so much. But one thing he's able to do is he can read people and he puts the right people that help him. He learned a tough lesson in 2016, his first 4 years. Because some of the people he put around him, like he didn't realize how political they were. right? And that's why you look at his cabinet now, totally different. And they're across the spectrum, dude. A lot of people on his cabinet wouldn't a lot of people wouldn't consider right leaning. A lot of them are actually left leaning or center left, right? And so that's what you're seeing right now with this right here, right? And that, like I said, it was working. That's why they did that. That's the only reason why they're doing that. Because if it wasn't working, dude, they'd have a case against them, and they could fight him on legal grounds, like the proper way, and politically the proper way. In my opinion, France gave the elections to Trump. Really? You think so? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on in France as well. Yeah, I know him and President Macron is they're kind of oil and water. You know what I mean? But I mean, I think it's good, Richie, because I think this president, our president, is pushing the European Union to start picking up more of the defensive tab. And in fairness, this is the one thing I always will agree with European allies as well as Southeast Asian allies and stuff like that, because what we do has such a big impact, and we've been really wishy washy, and that's because of our local politics here. The divide between left and right has reverberates throughout the globe, and that's something I give to any friend or foe. What we do has an impact, right? And so I would like to see from our administrations, whether Republican or Democrat, consistency. I think that's what a lot of people are looking for in other countries too. Because if he say the president after 4 years, like his successor, whoever they're dubbing as the next Republican president to win the election, loses, and we go Democratic, and we get somebody like a Gavin Newsom or somebody that's more hardcore left, it's going to flip the script all over again, and that's why countries hate us. Ultimately, there's people that hate us just to hate us, but there's people out there that hate us for reasons, right? Like we were the world's policeman, and there's people that like that's what they call the neocons. I guess I would be considered a neocon, but I think it's important that there's a hegemon in place, right? And I would put ourselves in there above anybody else. But because of the decisions we made, right, it causes issues for other countries, and that's why they get upset too. That's why the Europeans are pushing back on him, because um, the doctrine of what we did, and a lot of times, but in fairness to us, there's been times where we tried to step away, but we just couldn't. Right, we had to get involved, right? And people asked us, like the whole thing that happened in Kosovo in the '90s and what was it, early 2000s? Oh, all that kind of stuff. But I get it, dude. I get it. I'm not saying that we're perfect.
How crazy is that? Our country is the hottest country anywhere in the world right now. And it was a dead country 1.5 years ago under an incompetent president. But now I'm going to go in a different direction, probably the direction that I.
Oh, sorry, Richie. I somewhat disagree. It was our psychotic politics that put him in place. Our psycho media are ridiculously stupid and ignorant entertainers, right? The people that say stuff without knowing what they're talking about. It's all of that. The economy. There's a lot of things locally that was going on here that really brought him back into the office. Plus his track record on the first 4 years. Right. But
Should have
thanks for
gone
coming.
the first time, but I read the language. I'm very good at reading language, and it read our way 100%. But now I'll go the way I could have gone originally, which is even stronger than our original choice. As Justice Kavanaugh, whose stock has gone so up, you have to see, I'm so proud of him, wrote in his dissent, although I firmly disagree with the court's holding
See, like he's pulling no punches, man. He's like calling out the guys that he loves and hating on the people that he can't stand.
today, the decision might not substantially constrain a president's ability to order tariffs going forward. So, think of that. The decision might not substantially constrain. And it doesn't. He's right. In fact, I can charge much more than I was charging. So I'm going to just start. Although I firmly disagree with the court's holding today, the decision might not substantially constrain a president's ability to order tariffs going forward. That's because numerous other federal statutes, which is so true, authorize the president to impose tariffs and might justify most, if not all, of the tariffs. issued in this case. Even more tariffs, actually.
Yeah.
Those statutes include, think of that. Those statutes include, for example, the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, Section 232. All of these things I know so well. The Trade Act of 19.
Okay. That's the president being the president. Like he has a good team behind him. Right? Some of these stuff that they pull up, and that's what pisses people off, right? Because number one, most people that don't like what he's doing, or people on the politically left, right? They don't understand how the system works. That's number one. They don't understand it because they don't want to understand it because they hate our system. Okay, that's number two. Then they don't realize that some of this stuff is pulling up. Like they're like, this is ancient, but it's still standard, right? It's still there, right? So if you don't like it, then change it, and that's the problem. They don't want to do that, and they don't know how to do that. That's why I say like they're ignorant and incompetent at the same time.
74 sections 122, 201, 301.
Now, do I think he knew that? No, but he has a staff of people that let him know, and they have these discussions ad nauseum. That's what he's actually good at. If you watch The Apprentice, you'll see it all the time.
And the Tariff Act of 1930, Section 338, all clear, but it's a little bit longer process. I thought I'd make things simple, but they didn't let us do that. I would like to thank Justice Kavanaugh for frankly, his genius and his great ability. Very proud of that appointment. In actuality, while I am sure that they did not mean to do so, the Supreme Court's decision today made a president's ability to both regulate trade and impose tariffs more powerful and more crystal clear rather than less. I don't
100%.
think they meant that. I'm sure they didn't. It's terrible. And to think,
And it's done on purpose, right? Because that's the playbook for leftists who are in the judicial system. You see it all the time with a lot of the stuff going on with ICE, with these tariffs, right? Economic stuff that the president tries to do, stuff that's required by law, stuff that's within his wheelhouse, stuff that he has executive branch powers. What it is it's just a stumbling stone, right? To throw in front of him to stumble and then just push it back or delay it, right? Because they're playing they're trying to run out the clock. Now, I mean, they still have 3 more years, right? I mean, this president has done more in 1 year than any other president I've seen in my lifetime, and even my most favorite president, which is Ronald Reagan, right? I mean, I've never seen anybody move at lightning speed the way that he has and do all the things that he's done. He's done so much that it feels like 4 years already has gone by. Right? And that just that people that can't stand him, that just grinds them, right? And this is where you have stupid decisions like this being made. But it's also planned out to just be a stumbling block to him, to make it harder for him, right? But at the end of the day, the problem they have ultimately is they don't understand what they're doing either, which plays into his hands. Look, dude, this dude has been in the zone for nonstop for the last 10 years. Everything they've tried to throw up and block him, dude, he's just either gone around or just blew right through it, right? Because his opponents are dumb. I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you, right? Sometimes I see stuff that they could do, right, that they don't do, and the reason they can't do it is because they have no sanity of thought, right? They just hate the man, and that blind hate really is a disservice to them, which means this president will keep on winning.
that the Democrats who oppose this only because they want to go the opposite way. They'd like to pack the court. They want to put on 21 people. They want to pack the court, pack the Supreme Court. Maybe they should do it.
Oh, okay, yeah, Richie. Sorry, I haven't done a lot. I was meaning to do an Xbox thing, but I just saw the news. I think that's right, Asha. I like her name though, Asha Ascension. I have a good feeling. Ray, okay, guys, I'm a pro Xbox channel. I'm taking a really quick break here. I seen, look, dude, and Richie, look. I'll be honest with you, dude. The reactions were as I thought it would be. That's why I didn't focus on it a lot. I actually started playing this game called Star Sand Island. That's been really distracting me. I love it, and that's what I've been doing. I've just been playing my Xbox. It actually took me away from COD and some other games I was playing. But I did hear about the news. I seen because 100 dropped a video, but I have my daughter and her friends drive them around and stuff like that usually. So I've been kind of busy, but we'll definitely do a podcast, dude. Sorry, this is not that podcast, but I came to check it if you were talking about Asha Ascension. I have a good feeling about her, and I hope she can do a AMD Lisa Sue with Xbox. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, Lisa Sue. Yeah, I mean, if that's what we're going for, I mean, and I don't want to get into it on this video because we'll get back to this, but yeah, we'll definitely talk about it, dude. I gotta get what he bought, Ray, and then have a talk about that. And I gotta actually do the deep dive because I don't know anything. I saw her picture, I heard her name, right? I heard something that she said about she doesn't like AI or something negative on AI, which I think a lot of people will like. Um, Look, dude, love Phil. Just really quickly, I love Phil, love what he's done, but sometimes, dude, just like with Kevin Feige, man, he's done great work at Marvel, man. But it's time for Kevin Feige to go, and he's still there. With Phil, dude, and I won't like we'll talk about it in detail on the podcast, dude. Much respect to Phil, right? But sometimes things change, and I'll just leave it at that for now. And if you see my other videos and what we talked about, stuff that I've been complaining about with Xbox, should inspire you. But Ray, thanks for coming, man. Yeah, have a good day, bro. The Star Sand Island, is Star Sand closer to Story of Seasons or Stardew Valley? I don't. I think it's its own, Ray. I mean, it has like every other type of simulator type game, but it's there's a lot of cozy type game in it, right? And what I mean by that, dude, is it's not really strict. There's some things that you got to pay attention to in the game, but I mean, it allows you to give and okay, number one, it's not the full game, it's a pregame, right? So they're probably a little bit more liberal with their with some of the stuff that they do. They might tamp it down a little bit when the full game comes out. All I know is the game that I've been playing is exactly how I like to play. I like to have goals. I like to advance. I like to do certain things. But at the end of the day, sometimes, bro, I just like to grind or I just like to explore. And the game is cool, man. I definitely think it's worth checking out. Um, I would have to say it's a little bit more like Stardew Valley. The only problem I have with Stardew Valley is that as I'm getting older, bro, I have a hard time with 8-bit type games now. Right, it's just seeing things. Right, I can't see as well as I used to. But with Star Sand Island, just remember it isn't the full version. There's some people talking about that right now, but overall, dude, I absolutely love the game, and I love the game because it does the things that I like to do when it comes to these type of games, right? Which means like I can go into there's this Moonlight Valley that you can go into, and it's basically a dungeon, and I just go in there and just collect a bunch of stuff, and I find that relaxing. I like doing that. But definitely check it out, Ray, dude. I think I've downloaded it free. You don't have to buy it, right? And if you download it, the developers actually they give you some bennies inside of the game. Like if you wanna, I don't want to get into detail, but there's some benefits in the game that you see right away. And then when I was there, they gave us the Chinese New Year, there's Lunar Year, New Year, a couple days ago, and they gave you some of that stuff for free. So go check it out, bro. Go download it. But thanks, brother. We'll definitely talk about Xbox later.
Maybe they would be better off if they did it. They want to pack the court. They want to do anything to hurt our country. There will no longer be any doubt, and the income coming in and the protection of our companies and country will actually increase.
Okay, so now you know how he's mad. You know that he's not happy and he's mad because he's actually focused on his thinking, right? When he's just look, dude. If you guys watch, and I'm not critiquing the president on this, dude. I mean, it's a critique, but it's not a negative. Okay, but you know when he's serious and you know when he's upset because he doesn't mince his words. He's very direct, right? I know he's reading it from a prompter, but he doesn't go off script, right? Again, he's not happy, dude. He is not happy about this. It really pisses him off,
Because of this
and that's what I like about him.
decision.
He's very easy to read, man. Don't believe all the haters out there. Well, what is he thinking and stuff like that? He tells you. He tells you straight what he thinks, what he's gonna do. You might not like it, right? I get that, right? You might not like it. That's fair, but be honest, dude. Like he tells you directly what he's gonna do, right? Like all the stuff that he does on a geopolitical scale, right? Some people's like, oh, he really didn't mean Greenland. Yeah, dude, he'd take it. He wouldn't have said it if he didn't want it, right? Now he kind of wiggled and maneuvered to get other stuff that he wanted. Again, art of the deal. Go read the book, right? But if they blinked and flinched, he would have took that bad boy.
I don't think the court meant that, but it's the way it is. Based on long-standing law and hundreds of victories, and even, as I was pointed out before, even thousands of victories over the years, to the contrary, the Supreme Court did not overrule tariffs. They merely overruled a particular use of IEEPA tariffs. And essentially, it's used to get a fee. I can do anything I want with IEEPA.
And again, the reason they did that because that's how he's successful, and they want to take that away from him. See, then the reason why I keep on saying this, dude, because it really pisses me off. The thing that pisses me off about this is because you have to, they didn't flinch on Obamacare, which they shouldn't have passed, right? This is why I didn't think they were going to stop the tariffs. Because how can you get how can you enforce government healthcare, right? Basically, it's socialized healthcare. That's what Obamacare is, right? Regardless of your situation in life, where you are, if you're healthy or not healthy, it doesn't matter, right? Everybody's required to have it, right? And the way that they enforce that is through your taxes, okay? And so what it means is that they want everybody to have healthcare, so not everybody's going to pay for the healthcare, right? So that was just the fact that they did that blew my mind. So the fact that they're doing this is why I say again, this is another reason why this is all politically charged. Because if they're going to do Obamacare, this is basically a constitutional crisis that you're looking at right now, right? Because they got involved in healthcare, but now they didn't get involved in healthcare to block that, which they should have, but they're getting involved with the tariffs, right?
Anything. I just can't charge anybody for it.
Yeah.
I could license, I just can't charge them. It's ridiculous, but it's okay because we have other ways, numerous.
Hey, what's up, Mr. Kima? The tangerine face crying like a baby because he can't get his way. He's not crying, brother. He's mad. And like I said, dude, Trump goes OB1 Kenobi, man. You think they're just giving him opportunity to do whatever he wants? Because that's what he's going to do anyway at the end of the day. If the Supreme Court was truly stood by their guns, they wouldn't have done what he did. Again, I just mentioned about Obamacare. They didn't stop that, and they should have. So they shouldn't stop this, right? And this is the juxtaposed position now that you're in, and it shows how politically charged the Supreme Court is. And the problem with that is, dude, it's not, and I'm not saying left or right, Republican or Democrat. The problem with the Supreme Court is if you can't trust the justices or the justice system, or you feel that it's weak or that it's been confiscated, or it's been that the decisions that they're making is not something that you can rely on, the strength of the law, then none of this matters. And that's the dangerous part. Those tariffs he imposed were illegal? Oh, you mean tariffs? No, they weren't illegal. They weren't illegal. That's why they did that's what they're doing, right? They tried to tie it to something else. It's judicial terrorism, bro, if you're looking at it, right? He's the executive, dude. Just like he's the commander-in-chief of the military, he's also the executive in charge, right? And this is important because people voted for him. He won the election. So whether you agree with him or not, dude, you need to feel the brunt of that choice that you made, whether pro or con, whether you voted for him or you didn't vote for him. Right? Same thing with Biden. I didn't vote for Biden. I didn't like Biden, but he's the president, right? And they didn't do anything like that to him. And there's some stuff they should have blocked him on, right? Because that was obviously constitutional crisis. Some of the stuff that they were doing, because they were using the federal government to impose their will on people, right? And that's the difference that you see here. That's why he said earlier in the video, I know you're just coming in, but early in the video when he does his speech, I recommend you watch it. He talks about that. He's trying to be nice about it. Right? He wanted to actually do it like a deal. Right? That's what he was using the tariffs for. Right? Like he's going into a board meeting with another company, talking CEO to CEO, trying to hammer that out. The board of directors with the board of directors, stuff like that. That's what he's trying to do. And trying to be nice about it. Right? And the reason why he was so heavy-handed at times with the tariffs is because the other countries wouldn't want him bulk on that. We can't have trade deficits with people, dude. That's why our deficit is the way it is for us nationally. Our national deficit, our national debt, right? It's bad. On top of the stupid stuff we do for ourselves anyway. But that all aside, dude, this is one way that he could correct that. Those tariffs were illegal. Only the U.S. Congress can pass tariffs, not the president. I am correct, Mr. Kima. Incorrect. They gave him the power to do that, right? That's what he's citing right now, dude. This has been going on for decades. Not just now. This has been going on for decades. So if Congress wants to stop this, Congress has to pass a law. That's how it works. Right? They're just like, oh, my bad. We don't like what you're doing, so we're going to stop it. No. You got to go through the process. See, and that's the funny thing about it. He's following the process because he has judicial privilege on this because he's the executive, right? It supports him. And as the executive of the United States of America, right? He has that precedent. It's there, right? This is why if the justices that were pro for this, that are disagreed with this ruling, we're mentioning that, right? Because there's precedent set going back, I don't know, like 100 years or something like that, right? So it's not illegal. Now, if Congress goes back and pulls all this stuff from him, and he does it, then it's illegal. Okay, that's the thing, dude. Don't, bro. Don't just get it from the news, man. You gotta research this stuff. Now, I'm not saying that because I'm the brightest guy in the world, but it's I like history, dude. I like politics, so this is interesting to me that I actually look at this stuff. Do I know every single thing? No, but I know that much, right? And that point's been made ad nauseum. The thing is that the mainstream media does a disservice because if they were fair, they would mention that. All you have to do is get Congress to do it. Now, unfortunately for most people, he's in control of Congress, but this is how inept the Democrats are because there's people in the Republican Party, like you referred to them as rhinos, but there's just people in the Republican Party that doesn't like what the president's doing. So they should do the political thing, right? Get in there and change it, right? But they can't do that, right? Because they're just look, dude. If you're a Democrat and you listen to this video, dude, your party is inept in every single way imaginable. There's like 4 or 5 things I can think of that they could do to shit to help to try and block this president, but they can't because there's people in the Republican Party that they could try and reach across the aisle for, right? But they won't do that, right? Because they think all Republicans are racist or stupid. Those laws are already in place. He thinks he has the right to bypass every written. You're not listening. If did you listen to a word I just said, Mr. Kimo? Congress gave him these rights, so Congress has to take them away. What the Supreme Court is, they're blinking on this stuff, right? But the Supreme Court should have came back and said, "Hey, if this is bad, then Congress should do that." And they're basically circumventing the election process, which, as you can tell from 2020, they don't have a problem with. You need Congress to repeal these powers from him because they're the ones that gave him the powers. A president can only impose tariffs during wartime. The country is not at war with any other country. No, that's not true. That is not true. Right? That's why he used the fentanyl. That's why he used that reasoning. What the court says, he's overstepping that. But then the court is overstepping. You see what I'm saying? They're saying he's overstepping, but they're overstepping. Because what they should be doing is going to Congress and let Congress handle it. But Congress is Republican right now, the majority at the House. Right? Not so much the Senate. The Senate is the wishy-washy part, which the Democrats could work on, right? But they're a bunch of psycho socialist communist pieces of trash, so they can't think straight. Have Congress, Mr. Kima, have Congress take away those powers that they installed him with. You can sit here and say he's being liberal with them, right? You can say that he's just doing whatever he wants to do. That's fine. That's a critique. But at the end of the day, Congress needs to change that. Sega Man asked me something that was really cool. He asked me about the president. There's some story about the president getting rid of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which he cannot do, right? But the reason he cannot do because Congress passed that holiday. So it takes an act of Congress to do that. And you can't executive your order out of that. He could do it. He could do an executive order, but it will fall on deaf ears because Congress will convene, and rightfully so, and they'll block that. That's how it works. What you're seeing, what the Supreme Court just did, what you're seeing is it just shows the Supreme Court they lost a lot of credibility with this decision. Now the three liberals on the court already have no problem, right? They do what they do. It's like a PlayStation guy. A PlayStation guy's gonna do whatever he wants to do, right? Now the other three that should have known better, right? Right, they should have set precedent, should have looked at precedent and law to the extreme part, right? Like to maintain for maintenance, right? Now you have a constitutional crisis because now you have people like, well, how am I going to get my money back? We're going to sue. We're going to do all this kind of stuff. You keep on saying that, Mr. Kuma, but you're wrong. You're wrong. Okay, what he could do is just declare war, right? Which he has to get Congress, which he owns. So again, we're back to the same thing I just told you. What you need to do is you need to get Congress to act on this to repeal his powers, which they tried to do, right, a couple weeks ago, but they just don't have the numbers. There's guys that came up against them, which is the right way to do it. Now, I don't agree with them doing that, the Republicans, but there's Republicans that spoke out against it, and they tried to push back on him when it comes to that war powers. But I find Congress is all those people need to be in jail anyway. So a bunch of crooks. I don't know how the hell you can make the salary that they make and be millionaires and borderline on billionaires. Maybe that's something we should look into. So that's what they need to do, Mr. Kimo. Sorry.
There's other ways. The ability to block, embargo, restrict, license, or impose
Oh yeah, Mr. Kimo, listen to this, right? This shoots that whole point that you're saying down.
Any other condition on a foreign country's ability to conduct trade with the United States under AIPA has been fully confirmed by this decision. So now there's no doubt, because there were a lot of questions about tariffs because
Yeah.
no president was smart enough to use them to protect our.
So if it was illegal, Mr. Kimo, then why does he still have these powers, right? They should have stripped everything away from him, the Supreme Court. But they can't. Why? Because Congress gave him that ability to do that.
Country from those countries and businesses that were ripping us off. You took a look at the deficits that we had with some of these countries. It was disgraceful what they got away with for many, many decades. But now we know, because this decision affirms all those things that some people weren't sure about. In order to protect, and it says so, in order to protect our country, a president can actually charge more tariffs than I was charging in the past period of a year under the various tariff authorities. So we can use.
He is using fentanyl for his fake war. He has yet to prove that there is a war with countries that produce fentanyl. No, he's not. It's coming from China. This is why he focused on the Panama Canal. Dude, you're gonna have to exceed your scope. You're gonna have to look at the geopolitical, not just the national. Right? That's why these countries are going broke now. What they did in Venezuela, it basically killed their sources of income. I don't know if you know this, Mr. Kimo, but we're the hegemon in the global politically on the world stage. We are the lone superpower. Now, there's times where I feel like we have not used that power correctly. Not saying that we've enforced stuff, but just by not being accountable to ourselves. The sentinel, as you say here, right? Sentinel, right? There's we can have a discussion about that, but at the end of the day, somebody has to do it, and we fill that gap. I mean, would you want China to be that superpower? Because they want to. Go look at China's history, and go look at what China's doing now, even to their own people. Would you want to live under that type of hegemon? This is more than just national, dude. There's geopolitical aspects of this. Is why he's doing the things that he's doing, right? They can't, because at the end of the day, if you watch what happened in Venezuela, if you see some of the things that we're doing in the Middle East, a lot of these countries know that they can't stop us militarily, right? So they're using soft power to do that, and they've done it to great effect, right? Like the amount of money that pours into this country to support organizations. This is why he shut down USAID, right? Those are outlets for these countries to come in and do it. And this has been going on for years, bro. This is not just the president. That's why, it's not just with him. These politicians and stuff like that, they've been dealing with this for years. But because that, they want to make any way to be called Orange Man bad and all this kind of stuff. This guy don't care. This is why they hate him so much. This is why they don't want him to be here, because he doesn't give a crap. And he's the type of person, like, you keep on pushing on him, he'll just push back. And I saw that in his first 4 years when he won. That's why he tied the fentanyl to national security, right? Because other countries weren't taking it seriously, right? And then they got like, "Well, how dare you tell us what to do?" I was like, "Bro, stop sending this crap in there, dude." It's basically the reverse opium war is what China's doing to us right now. And respect to China, dude. They're doing what they're supposed to do, right? What gets me is that we're trying to stop that, and then people, I'm just gonna say it, Mr. Kimball, like yourself, right? Don't understand what's really at stake here. Right? Because a lot of these countries who are bad actors, dude, they're socialists at best and communists at worst, right? And the thing that stops them from being what they want to be is this country, and that's the God honest truth. And it's interesting to me because even on my side of the aisle, I end up fighting with people, right? Because they want things to be nice and they don't want us to get involved. And I get it, right? It can be tiring, but that's how hard it is, dude. It's hard to keep that type of peace. Now everything can go to crap. If I didn't have kids, I wouldn't care. I'll be honest with you, right? I'm that type of person, if I'm being honest. But I do have kids, and their future is tied into all this stuff. How's their world going to be when they take the reins of power, right? When they come up and they have to live as adults in a functioning society.
Other of the statutes, other of the tariff authorities, which have also been confirmed and are fully allowed. Therefore, effective immediately, all national security tariffs under Section 232 and existing Section 301 tariffs, they're existing, they're there, remain in place, fully in place, and in full force and effect. Today, I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122 over and above our normal tariffs already being charged.
Okay.
And we're also
And like I said to Richie a little earlier, that's to keep them in check, the other countries.
initiating several Section 301 and
So basically, the whole point of this press conference is that the Supreme Court can say whatever they want to say, but that's not going to stop me. And if you're a ally or a foe, right, and you think this is going to stop me, it's not. And here's 10%.
other investigations to protect our country from unfair trading practices of other countries and companies. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And I say quite simply, which I've said for a long time, make America great again. And interestingly, we've already made it great, so I don't have to use that, but I don't think we'll ever give up on MAGA. MAGA is always going to be with us. If you have a few questions.
All right, so that's pretty much as far as we want to go. He's going to take some questions, as usual. And this video ran really long, about an hour. But yeah, I'm just going to wrap it up there. Actually enjoyed this press conference. I knew he was going to do one, but at the speed at which he put this thing together, and when he came out with it and I watched it live, found it absolutely fascinating. Again, guys, I know we all have our political leanings. For me, this is entertainment at the end of the day, because, you know, what else are we going to watch, man? There's nothing really good anymore that Hollywood produces, right? Most of the stuff I watch now is foreign produced, right? Because a lot of those industries in other countries, man, they're up and coming and they want to be successful. So that's their drive, right? In America, we've already been there. We've been to the mountaintop, and we're a bit privileged and we're spoiled. I'm just going to be honest. I was having this conversation with my kids, especially with my daughter. She's trying to get into this industry and stuff like that. And it's amazing that, they had it all and they just pissed it all away. Hollywood did. And all these privileged actors and all these writers and directors and producers, not every single one of them, but most of them, right? And you had it good. And now somebody else is going to take your place. Right? Content is being produced. Like I talked about this in the last video, how popular culture is being taken over by anime and manga, right? And rightfully so, because they deserve it, right? Because they've been doing all the heavy lifting stuff like that. But anyway, with that being said, yeah, thanks for the commentary, Mr. Kima. Thanks for being here. Rachie as well. Thanks for stopping in. I know I haven't done a video in a while. And again, we'll get back to the Xbox stuff because it's the big news. I just got to do my own research. Mr. Kima, I don't know if you know everything. You probably do. I know you're more up to speed on the Xbox stuff than I am as of late. It's my understanding that Phil's going to step down, Sarah's going to step down, or whatever. And there's a new person. I saw a picture of the person. I saw a headline. That's about all I saw. Maybe I'll do a deep dive after this, but I got stuff to do today as well. I'll get with the crew, see if they want to do a video, talk about it. But if you guys haven't tried Star Sand Island, definitely go check it out. If you guys like simulator type games, if you guys like doing cozy type games, it's interesting because you have this genre of games that are sim or cozy stuff, and what's happening now. Saw a good rundown by this channel, Sarah Sunstone, that did the up and coming games coming up, and it looks like it's a genre within itself. You kind of saw that with the other genres, right? Like how a turn based would actually incorporate a little bit more RPG type elements and action elements into it and stuff like that. So this is part for the course, which is good. I like it. Star Center Island to me, there's some stuff they need to work on, but overall, I'd say a 99% clip. I love the game, but definitely go check it out. Section 232 tariffs are 4,150 days on certain items, not all items. Yeah, but they work all that stuff out, Mr. Kimo. Right? They reset it. This is why Supreme Court, again, all you're proving is my point. Supreme Court shouldn't be involved in that because they're not involved in the negotiations or the interpretation of the law as the president and his administration interpret it. Right? That's why the best thing they can do, right, is go back to Congress and tell Congress to strip him. Like you saw the video. I don't know if you're listening, right? The AIPA, they're taking the AIPA away from him, right? But he's just going to use other stuff. What you want to do, Mr. Kima, if the tariffs bother you that much, you need to have Congress repeal tariff take that power away from them. I forgot what president did back in the day, but you take that away from them. You can try to push those tariffs under 122, but it's not going to do anything. Obviously, you have not been keeping track of what this guy's been doing. The problem with a lot of people that they have with the president is he's doing these things and they don't know how to respond because they don't know that he has this authority, and that's a big deal, right? That's again, this is what I said earlier, man. It's shameful on Supreme Court. These are the big brains, and you have a person that has no political background, right? I mean, he's good at what he does, right? But he should not be doing that. And to be fair, it's not really him; it's his crew of people, right? But he picks these people, right, to give him, and he has to rely on them, and they've not steered him wrong. This is why the ruling looks so bad in so many places. Under tariff section 122, Trump, they have to prove that these tariffs against the U.S. are doing economic harm. They are doing economic harm, right? This is why we have a deficit, a trade deficit. We'll look at our trade deficit. That's the harm, right? Because what's supposed to happen when you trade with people, other countries, there's supposed to be like at least some type of even type of trade, right? What ends up happening is that we take a lot of crap from these people, and if you want to, again, you need to get a little bit more geopolitical. See what other countries do to us when it comes to tariffs, like Canada, who's supposed to be our allies, right? China definitely I totally get China, right? China wants to replace us. That I can understand, but a lot of people are shocked that we get tariffed by Canada because they want to protect their economies. So that's not fair trade, right? That's what it's supposed to mean, be fair. So like it's almost like a barter, right? Like if I had a Xbox One, right, and I wanted to trade it for your Xbox Series S or X, right? I'm pretty sure you won't do a 1-for-1 with me, right? Like in order for me to use my Xbox One, or like if you take it to GameStop to get the Series X, because if what you're saying is true, I should be able to take my Xbox One to GameStop and turn it in for Xbox Series X. But you can't do that, right? That's not a fair trade, right? But that's what they've been doing with us, right? That's China, right? That's other countries like Canada. They're like, no, we have our Xbox One, and you will take this, and you will give me the X. And the president, and this is the only president that came there and said, no, this doesn't make any sense. We're not going to do that anymore. Damn tariffs. Again, Mr. Kima, just have Congress, right? So in the next election, the midterms of this year, what you want to see is Democrats win the midterms, and they can put a stop to all this, right? Because they're trying to stop it now, but they don't have the ability to, right? But what they'll do is they'll stop it, or try to stop it. I don't know. Like some of these Democrats are just super flaky, right? So that's what you need to do, and then when the Democrats get in power, then you need to push them to repeal all these tariff powers that the president has. That's given by that his position was given to him by Congress, right? So that's what you do. The midterms come, then you come in and then you're like, boom, right? So go vote for who you want, right? And hopefully the Democrats win midterm, but then you got to hope that the Democrats do that, right? Because they might use it. They might start using that power. See, that's the dirty secret with politics. This is why a lot of Democrats they blow my mind, right? Because they'll like I see what you're saying here, but like these hardcore Democrats will come in and do that. But then when their people get in power, they forget about it, right? Because their people are in power, the people they like are in power. You see what I'm saying? So I bet you if the Democrats get in, they probably won't do anything either, right? Because they don't want to take that power, that ability that they might have later on when their person gets in office. You see how dirty this stuff is, right? You see how evil and wicked, this stuff is, right? Because they have a problem now because he's in office, but as soon as he's out, dude, like when the president, Biden, and all these other people were in office, dude, they didn't say a peep about the economy, about how bad stuff was. Media was silent. It's only when he came into office now you hear about all this stuff, and everything is 24/7. I love it, dude. I love watching people lose their minds over this stuff, dude. It's like joy to me now. Because at the end of the day, consequences is what's going to win out at the end of the day, and that's what a lot of people are experiencing right now. Like in New York, for example, they elected a dude that don't know what the hell he's doing, right? And all the productive people are leaving your state, which I think they should stay. If they voted for him, they should stay. I wish there was a way we could do that. Like where I live, right? Where I live, there's a lot of people living here that voted for this, and then they're moving to other states because the way they voted hurt them. But I think you should stay here and enjoy it. That's how I feel. 100%. That's the only way people are gonna learn, man. That's the only way they're gonna learn. And meanwhile, guys like me who know better, we gotta suffer. But it is what it is, guys. And so, but Mr. Kim, thanks for the commentary. And then we'll get on the Xbox thing. Just let me reach out to the boys and see what's going on. All right. So Xbox Online channel. We'll take it forever. We out.